Hey, what's up, everybody? In this video, this is going to be the second part of the Ascent ranked guide. I'm going to be focusing on defense in this video. I'm going to share 4 tips that will help you, take that Ascent win rate, hopefully up a couple notches because I know a lot of you are struggling on this map. So if you haven't seen my first video where I focus on attack side, go ahead and take a look at that. I'll link it down in the description below. But yeah, we'll just get started talking about some things that might be hindering your ability to win defensive rounds on Ascent. Now, everybody knows that this is a defensive sided map, right? So maybe you have decent success on it, but I think there's a lot of things that teams are doing in ranked that are not optimal and oftentimes are causing you to lose rounds on Ascent. So if you have problems winning these defensive rounds, definitely this is a video for you. If you make sure to send this to all your friends as well, and hopefully we can just get people to start playing the map correctly. That's number one. Okay, so I want to just get started, get straight into the video. I think this will be another short one, trying to go under 10 minutes here. But thanks again for all the support and for watching the stuff and all the subs and sharing and all that stuff. Really appreciate it. Number one, okay, I think this is probably the biggest one. Poor pre-round planning. Okay, there's no emphasis on talking about what happens if the enemy team rushes your bomb site. So this is going to be communication. If you're an Omen player playing A, can I talk to my teammates on A about what we're going to do if they rush us? Okay. The most important thing is that you leave nothing up to interpretation. You don't want people to make assumptions on what your play is going to be, so you need to communicate with one another. If they rush us at A, let's do this, okay? Whether you go A back nest into the site, or if you go to tree, or or you fight up in A main, it doesn't matter what you do, but what matters is that you do something together, because a plan where you guys do something together is always going to be better than 2 separate individual plans, okay? You're always going to have some type of trading. You're going to have multiple people on the enemy's screen when they're fighting you. You're going to set yourself up for success in the long term if you start playing together. Okay, and the only way that you can play together is if you plan together. Okay, guys, super, super important. The other thing that's important is if you're playing like a controller and you're playing Omen, you need to know what the guys are doing over at B as well. If their goal is to fight the choke, then you should smoke the choke. If their goal is to nest back site, maybe you need to give them a site smoke. Maybe you need a one-way stairs or one-way lane. You know what I mean? All of these things are important, okay? So you need to kind of have a global understanding of what the team is doing and how they're planning in the pre-round. Ascent is one of those maps where, and I talked about this in the attack side video, Ascent is one of those maps where teams are going A, B, really quick in the round. There's not a lot of emphasis on mid control. And because of that, it's super imperative that you guys have really good start of round or pre-round communications on what to do if they rush your bomb site, okay? This is very, very important. I know people are not calming and ranked all the time, but sometimes if you just are the person communicating the plan, your teammates will be able to listen to that even if they're not communicating, right? And if they're not listening to it and you see them doing something, read their body language and try to fight with them. It's going to be, this map is really hard to retake when you're down numbers, especially if you're not coordinated. So it is really imperative that you are fighting for the chokes and fighting together, or just doing things in general together, okay? Number two, it's a really important one. And it's kind of a two-part one. There's not enough fighting for A main going on, okay? You need to be smoking one way here pretty much every round. You need to be contesting this orb. You guys need to understand that this map is very defensive sided, but it's only defensive sided if you can control A main, because if you don't, basically what ends up happening is you start taking fights off cat and bottom mid, and when you do that, it leads to over rotations, okay? Because a lot of people are not going mid in cat, especially in lower elos. I mean, up in Radiant, they start to. But because they're not going mid a lot of the time, if you put a body in bottom mid and a body on cat, you lose control of B main naturally because you're playing a sentinel there and you play a little bit more passive. But you're also going to lose control of A main. So once that happens, your defensive players are going to start nesting into the sites, right? On B, it's very natural to do that. But on A, if you start nesting into back site or into tree, you lose a lot of the space and it becomes very scary for you. And what ends up happening is if you play passive here on A, you're going to start to call for rotations, right? Versus if you're able to stall out the hit in A main and can hold onto this space, the rotations are less likely to come through. So always think about the amount of space that you're holding on defense. If you lose space, generally that means that you're going to call for rotations. If you have space, that means that you don't necessarily need rotations, and people are going to use utility to come through this smoke. If people use utility here, they're not going to be able to use a ton of utility here, which makes your sight holds a lot stronger, okay? So the big thing is play a little bit more aggressive on defense. Fight for the space here in A main. This is an advantageous angle for you, especially if you're smoking it off. And don't worry so much about mid at the start of the round. You can always transition into mid, because what is the enemy team going to do whenever they go mid? They're going to let you know that they're going there. They're going to shoot the dart. They're going to shoot the face dart. They're going to smoke off cat. And when they do that, we kind of know that they're going for a mid default. At that point, we can go shift our focus from heavy A main with 2 people here into 1 person going cat and 1 person holding the A main smoke. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. This is how you need to be approaching the map on defense. Otherwise, you're going to be finding yourself like, you know, Sova's going to insta-rotate, and now Killjoy's solo B, even though they haven't even committed on A, and then they can just pivot back and go up mid-market on you, or just go for a B hit, okay? So this is very, very important. Point number 3. And actually another point to that. These fights in mid, guys, this map is very defensive-sided, right? These fights in mid are advantageous for the attack side. If we're dying on cat to a 50-50 fight on tiles here, or we're dying bottom mid to a 50-50 fight here, or a 50-50 fight here, it really screws up our defensive holds. The strength of this map on defense is being able to Odin spam B main, but also fight people in the kill zones here when they're running out of the chokes. These are the areas that we want to be fighting people. We do not want to be fighting people in these white zones, okay? We don't really want to be fighting people here, or like here, or here, okay? We want to fight people in these red zones, in these kill zones, and I'll draw another one in mid. Here. Oh, oops. Oh, come on, Valoplant. Okay, there we go. Here or here. These are the zones that we want to be fighting people in. We don't want to be fighting them in these white zones, okay? Just because in these white zones, people are like super, it's very easy for them to isolate angles and not get traded. In these red zones, these kill zones, these are the areas of the map where you're going to prioritize getting trades. They also are areas of the map where the enemy has to worry about a multitude of angles, so it's really hard for them to understand where you're going to be standing when you're fighting. Okay? Point number 3. You need to be saving for an op. You need to be getting the Odin up, ideally. If you can get the Odin going, if you can get the op going, it really helps you. Especially in ranked, guys. Especially. Because in ranked, there's not a lot of KO being played. There's a lot of Reyna being played. And naturally, teams are going to struggle against the op when they play Reyna. Don't get me wrong. The Reyna Leer is very good against the op. But the KO knife gives you confirmed info on where an op might be. It's very easy to knife market. It's very easy to knife close B main or knife A main and scout out the op. And then once you scout out where the op is, you can simply go away from it a lot of the times. Or if you want to, you can also just run it down. And you put a lot of pressure on the op to hit the shots. Okay? So try to save for these. Try to get good at using the op. Try to get good at using the Odin. Sometimes saving, if you're not a Jet player or a Sova player, sometimes saving money so that your teammates can get this weapon, and you know, let's say round 2, you just buy a classic instead of a sheriff with util, you're full saving for round 3 op, it can win you a lot of rounds. You get that Jet op going really quick, it makes the enemy team play completely different, okay? Point number 4, poor communication and planning around your ults, number 1, but also enemy ults. Okay, so if we see that the enemy team has KO ult, we need to be trying to position ourselves as playing anti-KO. So what does that mean? When the enemy team has KO ult, I want to go B at the start of the round and put my mollies in B main on lane. And then I want to go over and I want to play at A. Okay, then I'm going to pop these mollies for my teammates. Okay, another version of this would be like this. Right, and then you play B. Okay, so I want to play anti-KO. If I'm playing against Killjoy ult, right? If we have Killjoy ult, maybe we can play more retakey on A, right? Because we're going to go ult this. You need to be planning for these ults, and you need to be using them. Ideally, you want to try to plan and use them the round that you get them, ideally, because I know people are holding these ults for a super long time, and they're waiting for the perfect moment to use them, but oftentimes the perfect moment will elude you. If you can use an ult and get a little bit of value and to kind of increase your odds in winning the round by 10 to 15% because you're using that ult, generally it'll bring value to the team. It'll win you rounds. And then secondly, you'll start to get ult points back. You'll die. You'll get orbs. You'll get diffuses. You'll get kills. You know what I mean? These things will get you to get an ult quicker back again, right? So once you get that ult again, now we're winning another round for our team. Or giving ourselves a better chance at winning the round. So don't be afraid to use your ult. And another thing too is don't be afraid to use your ult in weird ways. Limit test with it. When you limit test, that's the only way that you get better. You make mistakes. You start to realize what's good and what's bad. And if you're not using your ult or you're not using your util, you're not going to be better at understanding when is the right time to do it and when is the wrong time to do it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Ascent defense, guys. I think that these are the big things. The last thing I'll say is in situations where you can play together, like man-up situations, don't take these 50-50s. Try to fight people in those kill zones that I talked about. Don't be afraid to play for retake in a 5v2 or 5v3 if you need to. Prioritize playing together. Prioritize playing, scaling with good utility in the retakes and having good timing. That's really going to be it, guys. I wish you guys the best of the luck, and hopefully this kind of ranked guide series is something that you want to see. I plan on doing all maps. And yeah, let me know what map you want to see next. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one.